DC on CW contains adult language and discussions. If you're easily offended, do not continue to listen.
My name is Oliver Queen.
You died. I went to your funeral with you.
The city needs saving.
What happened to you? The right to remain silent?
I don't want to be called out anymore. I'm from the future. Because you can inspire. In the future.
My name is Barry Allen, and I'm the fastest man alive.
Supergirl.
You people become a team.
Hey, cuz.
It's good to see you.
This looks like a job for the both of us.
None of you heroes. You're legends. You have failed this city. I don't want to be called out.
Any preference on how you'd like to die? The flame or the frost?
Time has come today. Young hearts can go.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to DC on CW, the Legends of Tomorrow edition. I am Michael Flores, your host for this evening. Ryan Denton, Lauren, Nicole, everyone is gone out of the studio, but I am in here with Old Faithful Bobby. Oh, Old Faithful Bobby.
Oh, am I on now?
Yeah, now you're on.
Oh, okay. I was like, why did he do it twice?
Because apparently when I do a different show, I don't even know. I completely forget how to run a board.
Is it because I broke your chair?
I think it was. And to be fair, you did break my chair again.
Again.
Yeah, I fixed it with super glue.
I don't think they're rated for my weight.
Probably not. All right. So today we're going to be breaking down Season 3, Episode 2 of Legends of Tomorrow, titled Freak Show, directed by Kevin Tanch Aroen and written by Kato Shimizu and Grainy Godfrey. Yeah, a lot of people behind the scenes on this one. The synopsis is the Legends attempts to fix the anachronism. I think I just I became Mick for that word. I couldn't pronounce it. Anachronisms in 1870 that happens to be P.T. Barnum's circus. The misadventures, Bob, the misadventures of the Legends crew continues this week as the writers led by showrunner Phil Klemmer struggle to find an essential story within a non-essential group of individuals. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. The season premiere saw our heroes go up against the great Julius Caesar and now P.T. Barnum. But we are still waiting for the myth arc to really kick off for this season.
Yeah, we have no purpose right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it feels kind of odd. Bob, say something for a second.
Ain't stuff right now.
Your mic's all over the place right now.
Oh.
It's all right.
All right.
I'll turn you up a bit. Talk for a second.
I am talking about this year's Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, we had Nicole on that mic before you left, and now it's all effed up. One more time.
One more time. We are still
there we go.
Live
That's
doing
good.
Audio test.
You know what? That's what happens when you're doing live show, especially when we switch out hosts in between with no actual break. We have to scramble to make sure all the mics are adjusted to the new host because you switched chairs.
Yes. Not because I broke it.
No, because you broke it. So dumb. All right. So in many ways, last week's premiere felt like a two-parter with this week's episode, Freak Show, getting the story positioned and the pieces moved into the appropriate place. I feel like sometimes because the CW doesn't have a lot of room to play around with times and running times due to the fact that they have a packed schedule of shows, sometimes it hurts the shows that they air when they're trying to when they want to take 90 minutes, and maybe they should take 90 minutes to really set up for the season, because that's definitely how I feel about Legends. In retrospect, after watching the second episode this week, Freak Show, I feel like I understand the premiere a bit better, because I think a lot of people felt like the actual premiere last week was a bit lackluster.
Yeah, it definitely fell short for me, story-wise.
Yeah.
Like, I still believe that it was a fun type show, watching them adjust, but you're right, it didn't have like a completion, let's say. It just kind of ended, and
it kind of fizzled.
Yeah.
It kind of fizzled, and there wasn't a whole lot of depth to it. It was a very shallow story, and typically Legends, that's kind of the charming aspect of Legends. It doesn't demand a lot of your brain power to enjoy it. You can flip it on and just sit back, kick your feet up, grab a beer, and enjoy the show, because you're right, it is just a fun show. However, there usually is a little bit more going on in terms of the story, and we kind of know what direction we're going in. And with the premiere, they kind of set the table, moved some things around a bit, but didn't really give us anything in the foreseeable future that we can say, oh, that's what the show's going to be about. I get it. I mean, they did that, the name drop of Malice, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe that's his name, right? Malice?
Yeah, which isn't really anything.
Right.
So that doesn't help us.
Yeah, so we're kind of left kind of scrambling. However, I feel after watching this episode, you kind of get what they're trying to do. No matter who the antagonist ends up being this season, the source of many of the Legends' troubles has always been themselves. And that's kind of the point of these last 2 episodes. They're kind of reestablishing that idea. They are a group of individuals who seem to be lost. That's nothing new. They're trying to figure out who they are. This has always been the heart of the show, or even the general theme of Legends, I would say. Since the very beginning, they were kind of a group of extraordinary, dispensable nobodies that must save the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a beautiful pitch when you go into a studio exec's office and say, hey, a group of extraordinary, dispensable nobodies. That's your show. And I think for the most part, Legends has really stayed true to that theme of their show. The original concept worked so well for the last 2 years, and the writers are hoping, it seems like, to catch the lightning in a bottle for a 3rd time, because they are definitely driving home that point.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. And we're going to get into all of that, the ins and outs of this week's episode. I think there's a little bit more there than meets the eye, and we're going to delve into that. But first, we got a little bit of news. As per usual, Legends of Tomorrow star on Kaza's Resurrection. Now, Bob, you're the Ultra DC comic book nerd. Am I pronouncing that name correctly?
You know, with names, it's always one of those things. I don't know how to pronounce it until I hear them actually say it on TV.
Because you're reading it in a comic book.
You read it in it's always the Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what is it? I don't know. I always read it as Ra's.
Well, it seems like the actors don't even know half the time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see how many different ways they pronounce it, but I'll go with the way you pronounced it.
All right. So with this article, this specific article is taken from EW. Now, Kaza is the new character that we saw at the very final moments of this past week's episode, and she has some history already. And now I need to go back and watch this because I have failed as a DC on CW fan, apparently. But she has been introduced previously in the Vixen animation on the CW seed. So she's not new, but she is new as a live action character. And for those of you listeners out there who may not know, and maybe you don't even know this, Bob, who knows?
No, I don't think I've ever watched anything on like the cartoon wise.
I don't think it's not really crossing over as much as they're hoping.
No,
it really isn't. There are people who are watching it, but not nearly the amount of people that are tuning in each week to these live action variations of the shows. Now, that being said, you are aware that it is considered canon to the DC on CW world, the Arrowverse, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So anything that happens in Vixen, the animation, as well as the Constantine one that's coming out later this year, it matters. It matters to the Arrowverse, and it does impact things that may or may not happen down the road. So according to this article, Vixen villain Kaza made her debut during Tuesday's episode of DC's Legends of Tomorrow, but the implications of her arrival are even scarier than what's on the surface. I like that word scary that EW decided to go with, because there was a very darkness that was definitely that was connected to her entrance into the show.
Yeah.
You immediately, the entire tone of the show shifted from lighthearted to extremely dark and sinister. And my hat's off to the audio and the editing crews who are able to take that cue and completely deliver in terms of sound design as well as camera work as well. Because it really does shift the entire mood of the show.
Yeah.
And if you're hoping to introduce a character like that who is supposed to be dark and sinister, that's a very important part of that.
Well, you didn't want her coming out of the circus tent?
No, exactly. No, we don't want her, jumping around and fighting against P.T. Barnum.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought P.T. Barnum was going to be the big bad of the season.
He was just going to go around and trap elephants,
That'd be
and
so
then
terrible.
Vixen was going to spend the next 100 years trying to get him to shut down.
Yeah, that's the worst setup ever. You imagine?
The end of Legends tomorrow is them stopping P.T. Barnum.
Yeah, and chances are they're going to have a lawsuit as well. They try to make him the ultra villain of the season. So, continuing in this article, in the closing moments of the hour, a mysterious acolyte of new villain Malice resurrected Kaza, who rose from the water and reconstituted into being a huge red flag for those who have seen the CW Seed animated series Vixen. See, that's also taken some liberties there, because do we know that's her being resurrected? Unless you're watching Vixen, you have no idea that she was resurrected. At all, and you still don't have an idea, even if you don't watch Vixen, that she was resurrected by Malice. Was that at all clear to you?
I had no clue what was going on. Yeah. I was like, is Swamp Thing coming out of the water? Honestly, I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And if it's from the animated series, how do they explain this? In comic books, they used to just be able to throw up the little thing. It's like, as story told in Vixen 103, and you go back and read Vixen 103 if you wanted the background story. But if they're trying, like you said, they're making things that are, canon from the CWC 10-minute cartoons.
It'd be tough, man. People who don't know about the
animation.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
Remember when?
Oh. That'd be so bad. But you bring up a great point. But this isn't the first time they've done it. They've done it also on Arrow itself when they brought in Vixen for the first time. Remember when she came to help him out? And they talked as if they knew each other. And I remember after the episode, I came up to you and said, did I miss something? Has she been on the show before? Because they were talking as if they've known each other. And apparently, Oliver was actually in an episode of Vixen, and the instance that they were talking about in the Arrow show actually happened in the cartoon.
Yeah.
So that's fine and good, and I think that's cool. However, they're going to have to expect that there's people out there who have no idea that there's an animation called Vixen.
But is it different when it's in Arrow versus Legends of Tomorrow, which is an offshoot of Arrow and Flash, and then Vixen was an offshoot? You're talking I don't know. We need the whiteboard to start drawing how we're going to connect the lines.
Yeah, we need Cisco to pop up and start explaining things to us with a bunch of random circles that make no sense as well. However, he completely confuses us with the circles and we just accept it.
Yes.
All right. So for all of those individuals out there who don't watch Vixen, Kaza was the main antagonist in her first season, season 1, as the sister of future Vixen, Mari McCabe. Kaza saw the Anazi totem as her birthright. Long, short story here. She eventually stole the water totem, but ended up using it to help Mari fight this other big bad, a warlord named Ishu, who had destroyed their village. Ishu ended up killing Kaza with the fire totem before being taken out by Vixen. So there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of stories there that they are going to have to try to adapt and translate over to Legends. Now, that may be a difficult feat. However, I do like that they're introducing characters kind of established already. Mm-hmm. Yes, they have to do their due diligence and make sure the audience understands, the audience that watch Legends understands the character. However, whenever you have a character with a backstory already, it automatically helps that character, whether she pops up on screen immediately or a long time later. It helps them feel more real and grounded because you know there's history to that character. And even if you're not seeing that said history, it does bleed over when you're writing about that individual in a script, because subconsciously the writer already knows this person as if he was transcribing his best friend's life.
Yeah.
And there becomes a little bit of realness to that individual because they are established. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Kaza ends up becoming in terms of character development, how we're going to connect to her and how fast are we going to connect to her and understand what her agenda is.
So like promotional wise, should CW be pushing people towards the seed? Like, if you want to learn more, like, could they pull something like that off?
Could.
I mean, because bottom line is, we know a lot about the shows because that's kind of our job.
Right.
You know, when we go look for these things. Well, if you're just the casual viewer, you don't know. So do you throw in a, catch up, with Vixen and her sister on the first season of, as like a commercial in between somewhere?
I think that would be a good idea for sure. I think it's something that needs to be done to kind of push people to watching, even if they may not have watched or would watch a cartoon in the past. They may be more apt at watching if they find out that the stated cartoon is connected to the current season. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't be a bad idea.
I mean, because I'll probably do it. It'll be one of those things. If they're 10 minutes, I could watch an episode while in the shitter.
I mean, wow. Shit material.
Yeah, whatever. 10 minutes. That's a good dump.
Well, you know what? We should also maybe we can do a Patreon exclusive discussion on these episodes as well, since they are part of the Arrowverse.
Yeah, we pull off the CW seed discussion.
Yeah, just watch all of them. Well, how many are there? How many episodes? Like half a dozen?
Half a dozen
for the first
10
season
minutes each. I think.
I mean, why not? And then have that be an entire Patreon exclusive discussion.
Yeah, we'll put that
be a good idea.
We'll put that on the schedule.
Now, next article also is about our would-be or possible big bad of the season in Legends, and that's all we're really left with is speculation, really, and that's all we can really do. However, there was a little bit more there at the end besides the obvious, the name dropping, Malice, and of course, Kaza. We also have some, I want to say Easter eggs, but some possible foreshadowing to a character, at least according to comicbook.com, that while the Legion of Superheroes is expected to show up on Supergirl sooner rather than later, one of their biggest villains may have made an appearance at the end of tonight's episode of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. In the comics, numerous individuals have used the name the Time Trapper over the years, in part because the villain is incredibly powerful but rarely shows his or her face. Draped in a purple robe that obscures almost everything about them, the villain has immense control over time itself, which just that defining aspect makes it a perfect villain for the Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's kind of a no-brainer. It would make absolute sense that this is, in fact, the villain in the shadows. This is the visual fans were treated to in the final moments of tonight's episode, or this current week's episode of Legends. A mysterious woman in a purple robe that obscured nearly every part of her, using some sort of powers to bring Vixen's villain, Kaza, back from the dead. The Time Trapper is an enemy not only to heroes, but to other villains as well. That's interesting. I love that type of stuff.
And that could be why Damien Dark and some of the Legion of Doom is coming back this season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great platform to get those characters back into the show. Most notably, the Justice Society foe, Mordru, an immortal mystic. Those revealed or implied to have been the Time Trapper over the years include a controller, his assistant Galorith, the hero Rock Kryn, the young girl Lori Morning, and the villain Superboy Prime. I'm sure you're familiar with every single one of those names.
Yeah, we're not now. I'm not going to fake it. No, I'm not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, most of those are not in
kind
my wheelhouse.
Are they like E-list?
Yeah.
E-list villains?
Yeah.
And characters?
The Time Trapper's lair has been, located at the end of time. And if we remember with the Time Masters, we're kind of outside of time.
That's right.
So I wonder if that's what's going on with Rip, the whole Rip thing. So I could definitely see this being the big bad coming up. But again, speculation.
It sounds high concept. And Legends is a high concept show. So I think it would make sense for them to have a villain like that, and it would justify bringing in a lot of these dark characters, these mystic characters like Damien Dark, and of course we now know that Constantine will be paying a visit to the waiver writer this season. I mean, that's just exciting in itself. So the table has definitely been set for that mystic type villain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a perfect ingredients for a big bad of the season. And it kind of fits into the motif of Legends so far. Every villain up to this date has been, or maybe not villain per se, but the object that kind of keeps the show tied together has been tied into some form of mysticism, whether it be the Spear of Destiny or I forgot his name now, the main villain from the first season. What's his name?
Oh my gosh.
Jesus Christ.
It's Casper Crump, but I can't think of his real name.
Yeah.
Or his, oh man, that's horrible.
It's all right. It's all right. So regardless, we have a lot to look forward to, even though the opening episodes have been stutter-stepping a bit. However, I think just around the horizon, we should be ready to have a pretty high concept season in front of us. All right, Bob. So we're going to go to a very quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to jump into this week's episode.
Vandal Savage.
Vandal Savage. That's right.
Whatever you roofied it with, I'd like some.
I did not roofie him.
Oh, I ain't judging.
DC on CW. We'll be right back.
This is Star Wars from the Butter Tank exclusive.
All I'm saying is that someday we may be ready for a rated R Star Wars. But right now, putting the Star Wars name on things where people are already confused with Rogue One, and now you're throwing a rated R rating, it's too much confusion. It's not about Disneyfying. It's about making sure the mainstream audience and general audiences understand what's going on. Can you imagine that, dude? You go to see Star Wars and it has a rated R rating on it. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What is this?
And on top of that, it's kind of like, for those people, those fans that want a rated R movie, you guys do realize that Star Wars was made for a younger audience now.
Yeah, you know what? If you want something more adult, just go look up keywords on Google here. Star Wars parody porn. There you go. That's mature content right there for you. There's lots of shooting in people's faces and all kinds of things.
For more details. And get ready for an excitingly good time. Also, if you've missed our last show, you can also find us on your Stitcher app. Search Back to Tank. Add us to your favorites. Thank you, and we will see you very soon.
He has to come back in the
I think the Lucifer of that world's going to kill him.
You think?
Boom.
I see. I no. You need to have original Lucifer be the one that
I think original Lucifer and alternate universe Lucifer are going to be shipped really soon on Twitter.
I think they're going to fuse and become Ultimate Lucifer.
Ultimate Lucifer on Tumblr is going to be a ship.
I'm going to actually make that. Hold on, I'm going to get that Twitter.
Can we copyright that?
I'm going to get that Twitter handle right now. Hold on.
Ship Lucifer with Lucifer. Alternate reality Lucifer with Earth 1 Lucifer. Can we call this Earth 1?
No, don't get started with that.
Don't. Let's call this. What are we going to call this then? Supernatural 1?
Ultimate
1?
Ultimate 1.
Espion 1? Espion 1 World 1.
That is a terrible name.
What is this, Marco Brothers? I would love to see that on Tumblr. Get it started, guys.
I would love
Send me your Lucifer fan fiction.
I want to see Lucifer enter Lucifer.
Very meta.
It'll be very Lucy.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Wait, which one would be the girl and which one would be the boy?
Does it matter? Why do you got a label?
I'm not labeling.
Why can't you just be two?
I'm just curious which one would be the giver and which one would be the taker.
Don't miss Supernatural at Crossroads every week on Rain Man Digital. Go to supernaturalthecrossroads.com for more information. Hey guys, did you know that Rain Man Digital now offers a premium service? That's right, besides the weekly free broadcast, Rain Man Digital now offers a premium service. And when you pledge to our Patreon page, you automatically become a subscriber. So it's easy. The premium service includes video content plus additional exclusive shows like Star Wars from the Back to Tank, Star Trek from the Holodeck, Comic Book Chaos, and of course DC on CW.
I'm not on.
There you are. Now you're on.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, don't let me promote my own shows. I see how it is.
Of course, DC on CW.
Of course.
Where we're going to probably, hopefully, add some Vixen discussion.
Yeah, and we're going to do some CW Seed, I think, coming up.
Yeah, so head over to patreon.com/RainManDigital and sign up today.
Slinging sticks like Sheila E. Bad bitch on my side, ass like Alicia Keys. Feel the breeze, double time, Nikki, please.
Have you ever wanted something so bad that you do just about anything for it? Well, that's exactly how we feel about you. That's right. AdamandEve.com wants you so bad. We're giving you 10 free gifts with your first order. You heard me right. That's 10 free gifts to spice up your love life. First, you'll get a sexy surprise for her. Second, an adventurous toy for him. And third, a little something we know you'll both enjoy. Plus, you'll get 6 full-length adult movies on DVD. And number 10, free shipping on your entire order. That's 10 free gifts for you shy types who've never tried Adam and Eve before. Just go to AdamandEve.com and select any one item. It could be an adventurous new toy, a sexy piece of lingerie, or anything you desire. Just enter offer code DEAL30 at checkout and you'll get all 10 free gifts, including free shipping. That's offer code DEAL30. That's DEAL 30 at AdamandEve.com.
Have you missed an episode of DC on CW? Catch up on all of our discussion from Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. Just search DC on CW on iTunes and Stitcher. You can also find it on the Rain Man Digital app. Just search Rain Man Digital from the iTunes App Store or Google Play.
You're listening to Rain Man Digital's DC on CW.
All right, welcome back to DC on CW, the Legends of Tomorrow edition. I am Michael Flores, your host, and we are about to get into the second episode of the third season, episode titled Freak Show, directed by Kevin Tanch-Aroen, and written by a couple other individuals that I'm not going to get into their names right now. I've been making way too many mistakes with the pronunciation of names, so I'm just not going to put myself in that position anymore, Bob. I'm just not going to do it, all right? Oh, Jesus. Eventually...
Hey, 3 for 3.
Eventually, I'm going to learn how to turn your mic on. All right, so the synopsis, the Legends attempts to fix the anachronisms in 1870. That happens to be P.T. Barnum's circus. All right, so... Let's do this. Let's talk about this. So after a wonky start last week, which it is, and I know this is a fan show, and we love Legends of Tomorrow. However, it was wonky. We just got to be honest.
Yeah,
it was
definitely.
It was a kind of a setback from everything we've seen before. We get the bigger picture during the final seconds this week, and probably what should have been a 2-part season finale or an extended premiere. I know people may say, well, Michael, it came last week, 1 episode, and this one this week, and hey, it's a 2-parter. But sometimes, in order to satisfy those fans who are lustful for story and something dense, and not a stupid way, but dense as in, thick, we want a good story. Give us that to be continued aspect. So we say, oh, all right.
There's more.
There's more coming. I don't need to be upset that really nothing happened this week, but a bunch of buffoonery.
And it could have been a 3-second shot of them just going to the circus.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been very simplistic.
I mean, go with the Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
Quantum Leap always ended where the next episode was going to begin.
Yep, exactly.
Nothing wrong with that with a time travel show.
And that's a great way to do kind of a mini little cliffhanger and get people set up and ready for what's to come. And you bring up a great point with Quantum Leap. That was one of the highlights of Quantum Leap back in the day, was immediately you had an idea of what next week was going to be about.
Yeah.
And that'd be awesome if Legends started doing something like that, at least in episodes that require that 2-part in order to complete the full story.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So we are introduced to a potential threat that would appear to be way more menacing than simply fixing aberrations and anachronisms. Am I going to get this right today, Bob?
No,
Can
you're not.
you say it for me, and then I'll repeat after you?
I can't pronounce it right. This is where I would go into Google and type it in. And
Anachronisms. There we go.
Yeah.
Man, it's just a tongue twister.
What's going to happen when we put Ryan behind the mic?
He's going to stutter as well, just like the rest of us. So also, we would seem like we are getting another season steeped within the mysticism, as we were saying before we went to break. It worked for the first season and the last season with the Spear of Destiny, and it looks like the trend will continue this year, which, when dealing with such a high-concept television show, dealing with time travel, it does work. Your villains must be big and menacing to kind of match the high-concept feel of your show. I mean, to just put it in layman's terms, this is a tentpole blockbuster idea for a show. It's action-packed, there's a bunch of visual effects, and you can't have those ho-hum villains that you just don't care about. I mean, look at what we've had so far. We've had Vandal Savage, which was epic. It was a battle that crossed time. It was a battle waged across time. Yeah. That is just amazing. Then you have the Legends versus the Legion of Doom. A very iconic group of supervillains working together to fight the Legends. I mean, you have some high concept villains, and now it would appear that we are getting things positioned to introduce yet another high concept supervillain that's going to cause some trouble for our Legends, that's going to test them and throw them obstacles, I should say, and it's going to test our heroes. And I honestly think that's always at the forefront when the writers are writing these characters. I think they think, yes, high concept villain is a must. However, what's it going to mean to our characters? Because in a lot of ways, for me anyways, the Legends of Tomorrow characters have even though all of our heroes have issues, I'm not going to take that away from Oliver or Supergirl or even Barry. They all have their demons, but there's something very different with the problems that inflict our Legend heroes. It's a problem pertaining to the very core of self-esteem and self-worth. I mean, look how they jump-started the show.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Now you think about it, now, they went back to normal life and it wasn't enough for them.
It wasn't enough for them. And when you really think of what even jump-started this show, and this is something that I always talk about when I host this show, because it was just such a great way to build instant issues amongst our heroes without having to wait weeks and episodes for character development. You instantly get them slapped with the idea that they're not important. That the reason why Rip Hunter picked them is because they offer no real issues if something were to happen to them in the course of fighting and restoring the timeline. If they were to get killed or disappear, it would be relatively no issue.
Yeah, and I think that would hurt anybody.
Absolutely. To find out that your life means nothing.
If I was to disappear today, nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nobody's looking for me.
Yeah.
That would hurt. I hope people like me.
Yeah.
Like me, please.
It's even the most confident of individuals, that would really cause you to do an introspective and just wonder and ponder about life.
What did I do?
Yeah.
What did I do to get people to not, or what didn't I do, or how could this happen? You feel like you're making an impact on the world for that's at least one person.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be told that you're kind of a nobody,
yeah,
it would hurt.
Yeah, and besides the villains, the big obstacle outside of the big bad has always been themselves. As we were saying, they struggle with a very deep rooted sense of insecurity and a need to belong. Especially, as I was saying, with the way Rip Hunter introduced them. And since that time, it has been the foundation of our lead characters' emotional growth and a source of their relatability. Look how instantly we're both like, that would suck.
Yeah.
And that's the genius behind the very basic way they jump-started the show way back in season 1. They immediately made these characters relatable. It solidified quickly, and it was the thread that has kept the season so far cohesive, fluid, and consistent. But how will this dynamic pan out this season? And that's one thing I really want to focus on in this discussion. Will it play out in a similar fashion? And again, taking into account, Bob, everything we've seen so far in the season premiere as well as this episode. They are definitely doubling down on the buffoonery this season. And it's to drive home a point, I'm sure. And when I was originally watching the episode, I kind of scratched my head. And I think both of us were kind of sending messages to each other.
Yes, definitely.
Saying we weren't quite sure what was happening with these two episodes. And it doesn't feel like they have a direction. They're doubling down on the buffoonery and not a lot of seriousness in terms of our characters. And yes, crazy, silly antics is the charming aspect of Legends. The way they juggle the serious themes of the show and humor. That's been the charming aspect of the show. However, they're painting the characters in a very different light. And I'm wondering if this is by design. Is this for a reason? Are they trying to set the table and put those moving pieces in the right positions so that later it matters with the introduction of our villain?
And see, and now that I'm thinking about it, when we, as like a radio station, go away for a while, when we all get back together, we're kind of shot out of a cannon, and it might be like our most goofy type shows.
Right.
And do we consider the fact that they've been away for 6 months, and maybe that's why they're all just like kind of
out of sorts
and high-fiving and just being like, a lot of that lot more bro stuff than we're used to. It could just be that like, hey, that I missed you type thing. Because I think that runs with any kind of like tight group of people that when you're away from each other, you don't realize, what you had or you missed them or whatever it is. You come back together and it's like, oh, I'm going to make fun of Ryan for fucking 30 straight minutes. Watch this, because I haven't been face to face with him in a while.
Yeah.
So, and so maybe they're doing that and we're just kind of getting lost in the fact that for us, it hasn't been that long. It's been one episode.
Right.
And we're like, oh, well, whatever. They should get back to normal.
Yeah. Now, that being said, it is quite sad, in my opinion, to see that they have not managed to become respectable superheroes still, but rather a bit of a nuisance. And that's something that I'm thinking it has to be a part of the writing intentionally.
Yeah.
Because after all this time, you would expect that our Legends, after 2 years of going through, and in some cases even more so, people like Mick, who spent, an eternity? Technically?
We technically, yeah.
I mean, you would think that these guys would be recognized as respectable superheroes, but they're coming off more as a nuisance. They have become infamous to the newly formed Time Bureau. They're scorned for effing up time. And now they have been prevented from working as a group, and their job has all but been downsized by a far more productive and streamlined workforce. And now we have the Legends crew flying around doing piddly work that doesn't really resonate as truly important.
Yeah.
It's almost like Rip is like, whatever, let's let him fly and do nothing of importance. It just feels kind of like they're tearing down the Legends. And yes, it may be relevant to their very development as they are unimportant. But when do we get to that point where they are important? I mean, Sarah chose to save the universe and time rather than bringing her sister back.
Yeah.
If that's not being a superhero, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
The fact that Mick turned on his best friend and was willingly going to kill him to save the universe and to do the morally ethical thing, I don't know. If that's not being a superhero, I don't know what is. There's far less important superheroes who do far less that are considered heroes.
Yeah.
So
you're saving time. Oliver's saving a city.
Right. Like, this is way more epic than a few deaths in your city, Oliver.
Yeah. See, and
that's why I'm kind of finding it hard to relate to this idea that they're nobodies, which leads me to think that the writers are doing this on purpose for a specific reason to get to the next step of the story.
Yeah, and I kind of went off a little bit on that last week that this has to be a work by Rip. I think he was trying to put this team together, and I believe it more now that they kind of let it slip, that there is something bigger out there that he has for them.
Right.
That, you know, like the testing of the Wave Rider and all that stuff last week was just to kind of see if he could get other people to do that job. And when they didn't make, like, you know, they were all textbook, I have to do this, and A, B, C, D. And now he knows he needs somebody like the Legends to come in and, you know, not be so textbook in how they think and working together.
And we already know that textbook individuals usually don't know anything when you compare it to people who are field tested.
Yeah.
And have been out in the field or in the line of battle. It's far different than reading a book and thinking you know what you're doing.
I tell people all the time I would 1,000% take my street smarts over my book smarts any day.
Yeah.
Because it gets me through so much more of real life than, you know, some college kid that comes into my work and tries to tell me how things work.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's what the textbook told you. That doesn't always work in the real world.
And if that's the correlations they're trying to make, they're connecting those things to those two items together, then that would make sense. Because it does make me wonder if Rip is being a dick for a reason, because he's being an asshole, and Rip has always been a bit of an a-hole.
Still won't tell anybody anything.
Right. But he also has learned to respect the Legends and the group that put their life on the line and their lack of importance, air quotes, to save him, his family, and the timeline. So I can't imagine an individual who witnessed how great they really are and how they put their life on the lines for him to really be this way. And that's why I'm thinking there's more to it. Is he trying to protect them from something? Is he trying to keep them away for the time being? You know what I'm saying? Like that. Those are the things I started thinking about after I watched the episode, because it kind of goes against yes, Rip is being true to his characterization. He's an asshole, but he also likes and respects these individuals, and he has seen and witnessed what they do.
Yeah. And maybe, you know, because this week we had the spy and then we had Sarah's future lover.
Yeah. Yes. And if that's the case, I'm going to blow my brains out. So stupid. I mean, if that's what they're trying to do. And I don't need stupid relationships on shows all the time. Like that's always the go-to.
Yeah. But I think those two might have been on the ship. Maybe he's like trying to convince that these are the people for the job.
Yeah.
You know, and letting them do like, you know, what we call these piddly things. Maybe it's proving something to the rest of the team that he has out there working.
Yeah.
That they are the ones that can handle it.
Even though they, I guess, could be responsible for the F-ups, even though they're not really the ones responsible. The Legion of Doom is responsible, and them trying to clean up after them. I mean, when you stuff the wagon completely to the top and you go down a bumpy hill, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Things are going to start falling out the back.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of what happened with them, and they're being pointed at as being fools and idiots for messing up everything. I'm like, listen, we saved the very essence of reality. Give me a break. And not one of them did that.
Yeah.
Because I would have said that. I'm like, hey. Listen up here. You go ahead and put a dinosaur back where he belongs. I'm going to go ahead and bask in my glory for a moment because I saved the very essence of reality, not the universe, reality.
Do you like your job? You wouldn't have your fucking job if it wasn't for me.
Yeah. I'm finding it hard to connect with what they're setting up because I feel defensive of the Legend. I'm like, come on.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, do better by them.
Yeah. Exactly. So I am looking forward to seeing what they do with Malice and how it will have a greater impact on the heroes or our Legends. Because so far, Billy Zane as P.T. Barnum is just not cutting it. And neither is Julius Caesar.
No.
I mean, I'm Billy Zane's a respectable actor, but I mean, P.T. Barnum really as a villain? It's just kind of strange.
That's some animal activists. We'll find out one of the writers didn't like the fact that the circus was treating animals, so they're like, he's a villain.
I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt that for a second. So I gotta think this is all planned out just to kind of stutter step until the writers are able to flesh out the main myth arc for the season. Because it seems like a whole lot of nothing, right?
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. Again, bullshit episodes.
Which is weird because you're dealing with the very beginning of a season, where the first 2-3 episodes are usually the ones that really focus on the myth arc and getting the show set up for the year. And you're also talking about a show that doesn't get the same series order as Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl. They get what, a quarter less, roughly?
Yeah, I think 16 or 17, and Flash and them are 23, and one of them's the crossover.
Yeah.
So the crossover's in there. So you got 15 episodes basically to get shit done.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens and whether or not we are accurate with our speculative theories. But I mean, regardless, I can't wait to see what they do with Constantine. I know you guys talked about it briefly last week with the introduction of his character into Legends.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I know we have Legends of Tomorrow is our rotating host. When that comes on, are you changing the schedule?
Yeah, whatever episode it is,
you're going to lead host those.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. I figure it's a two-parter, just letting you know.
Oh, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, Constantine's one of my favorite all-time comic book characters. So I can't wait to see what they do with them and how it will work in conjunction with the storyline that is leading towards Malice, I can only assume, and possibly even the Timekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering about the connection Constantine will have with Sarah as well. I mean, he is the one that saved her from her insanity in Arrow. When they had brought her back to life, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was the episode he was on.
Yeah, I just forgot. I was like, oh yeah, that was the same episode that, I mean, in fact, the reason why he was even in the episode was to save Sarah.
Go pull her soul from hell.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if they're going to tie that in as well, which I think would be kind of cool because it has that, what we were talking about with the Vixen villain, it has that instant built-in development.
Does she remember?
That's a valid point, too. That's a valid point.
I wonder if that they'll play it off, or he'll be like, "Oh, I know you," and she'll be like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah,
Gideon.
Who knows? I mean, she did wake up at the end, right? But she was kind of in a fetal position on the ground.
Yeah, it wasn't like he hung around; he ran away after.
Yeah, that's true. We will see. I think that's definitely one of the most highly anticipated episodes of the year. I might even think this is more anticipated than the Jonah Hex guest spot that we had during the first season.
I think so, just because CW has pushed Constantine so heavy, and it's been the internet darling, let's say.
Yep.
Of we need this back, we want this back, bring this back, stop making Black Lightning, make Constantine.
Yes. Please.
So I bet you by far this will probably be the 2 highest rated episodes for Legends.
I hope so. I really, really hope so.
But again, it's always how are we going to promote it? It's got to happen now.
Now, are they going to do it as a lead in to his cartoon they're having on the CW Seed, or will this be at the aftermath? Will the episodes release first, the cartoons, and then lead into this?
I don't think we have times yet of when he's actually going to appear.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, like you said, especially with the some of the things we saw, and if he's going to be ended up doing an exorcism over 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's going to get really dark later this season with the mysticism. I mean, we already know that Damien Dark will be brought back to life. According to various reports, the Damien Dark that's going to be in Legends this year is not the one that Sarah left in 1980s.
Yep.
According to numerous reports, the Damien Dark we're going to get is post Arrow, post season 4, dead Damien Dark. So if we're bringing back dead characters, I mean, isn't this a perfect doorway for Constantine just to walk right through?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's awesome, man. And if this leads to an even greater story arc for Constantine rather than just one episode, because I know that one episode has been confirmed. However, there is speculation that he will be joining towards the ending half of the season. Who knows?
See. Hey, I'll take any kind of backdoor pilot they can get.
Oh, yes, please. That'd be awesome. So, Bob, this kind of completes our main discussion with the show this week. However, let's get into final thoughts / issues with the opening half of the season. I know we kind of touched on them briefly, but maybe kind of in a nutshell, bring that all together with your final thoughts.
Oh, jeez. I feel bad because I do love this show. But, again, the circus thing just it didn't make any sense what was going on, and the capturing of the saber-toothed tiger shouldn't have been something that took. I think, as you put it, a couple engineers, a doctor, a warrior, and an IT guy that, to go get Vixen to come back. It seemed forced.
Right.
I don't know how I would like Vixen reintroduced, maybe with just the fact that
maybe she just didn't leave.
She didn't leave, or the water sister comes back up and they're like, oh shit.
Water sister? Is that what we're calling her?
Yeah, I'm gonna call her water sister.
Water sister.
And then they have to go get the jungle sister back.
Oh, now that sounds racist.
Whatever.
Come on.
Did I pronounce the R?
Is the water sister Mexican?
No.
Oh, okay.
There's no hard R's at the end, so it's okay. So I don't know like why that felt weird. The whole fight scene between alpha female time bandit lady and Sarah was horrible. I don't feel like they're writing them correctly.
Which is weird, right?
Yeah, it just
because these are the same writers from the past 2 years, and it feels like there's a new writing team in there. It's strange.
Yeah, and again, they're idiots. They're all idiots now.
Yeah.
And only Mick's supposed to be like the idiot. And not really an idiot, just the guy who doesn't give a shit.
Right.
But it was a tough one to kind of get through for me.
Yeah. I can't disagree.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because this is a show that we all just enjoy when we watch it. There's never complaints. It's always like, ooh, wow. Like, it's cool. We don't expect a whole lot. It is superficial at points, except at times, except of course when they're dealing with the very intimate real issues that each of these characters go through. But for the most part, the grand concept, the high concept antics is kind of superficial.
Yeah. Again, there were parts I enjoyed. The bar scene, with them all kind of just...
You like bearded ladies?
Bearded ladies and like all those jokes and stuff going on with there. Nate just being an angry, like broken up, scorned boyfriend wanting to fight and defend the bearded lady. Stuff like that I thought was funny. I thought the thing with Mick being afraid of clowns was hilarious, that he was just running away. So there were moments that I did enjoy. I just don't buy P.T. Barnum in a circus being some kind of threat to the Legends.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
All right, so my final thoughts very similar to yours. I feel like the final two episodes, or the first two episodes of the season, is just so mediocre and lackluster, and it's very sad from a show that always kind of knocks them out the box. They're simple, fun, exciting, and the writing is decent from a superficial standpoint. They essentially turned the entire Legends crew into Mick. We are now supposed to believe that they are Neanderthal morons that are fuck-ups, when that's never been the case. They might have messed up things because they didn't understand the whole idea of time travel and what you can and can't do, but they weren't fuck-ups.
Yeah.
Now they're turning them into bumbling Three Stooges that are buffoons and embarrassing. It's odd, and it was all of them. They were just acting like idiots. And yet two of them are scientists. One is an educated academic and historian. The other is a highly trained strategic warrior. They've never been bumbling fools, but now we're led to believe they're idiots. It's so badly written, it goes against the characterizations of each of them. The characterization is completely off, and this is not what the Legends have been. And now they can't even contain a saber-toothed tiger without the help of Amaya, because she conveniently can turn into an animal, in layman's terms.
Mm-hmm.
One dude is steel, one can fly and has weapons, the other can shoot fire from their hands, and they need Amaya to stop a tiger? I'm just like, wow, that's grasping. How about you guys just save the trouble and keep Amaya on the ship and she never left?
Yeah. Or be real brave and just kill it.
Or leave Amaya out of the episode and have them bring in Vixen's villain, connect her to Vixen, and they're like, oh, we need Amaya.
Yeah.
That would make sense. I mean, this is just poor writing. This is like D-level writing. And this is a show that's managed to do things so well and yet so simple. Or let me say the opposite. So simple, but so well.
Yeah. There's nothing, you don't have to, everything doesn't have to be complex.
No.
And, like, who's behind curtain number 1?
Yeah.
You know,
it's just odd. The decisions don't make sense. It feels like an entire writing room has been changed out. But Phil Clemens is still the showrunner. He still has, for the most part, the complete writing staff that he had last year. I'm hoping this show pulls it up. It would be a shame for this show to hit the 3rd season curse, as we call it.
Yeah, because, I mean...
all the shows on DC, all the shows on the CW, have always hit a lull point. They always seem to lull around the 3rd season. They start to suffer. And we have our own explanations as to why that might be the case. I'm not going to get into it right now. It'd be kind of insulting and also take too much time. Maybe there'll be a Patreon show.
We'll do a present, so you have to pay to hear us.
Yeah. But we do have a reason why that actually makes a lot of sense. But Arrow suffered after its 3rd season, still is trying to pull itself out of the hole that it went into.
Yeah, because people don't want to come back.
Yeah. And even though it's been good, this past season was a season where it actually managed to save itself and pull itself out of the hole, but people still aren't watching like they were for the first 2 seasons. And then you have The Flash, who did the exact same thing. First 2 seasons were great. The 3rd season happens and the show just digs the same hole that Arrow did. And I'm hoping Legends does not do the same thing, because this show has been so fun to watch.
Yeah, and like you said, if they would have just made it simple. The historian likes the circus, goes out and is exploring, gets in the fight, turns into steel. They capture him. They have to go get him out. Mick's scared of clowns, so he won't go near him. You know, something like that just would have fit what they've done in the past. Not, necessarily everybody and their mother gets captured by the evil circus man.
Yeah. And what about the idea that they're painting these individuals as pathetic as well? Like, it's kind of sad that they saved the universe, saved reality, and 6 months has gone by and they're not respected. Sarah is working at, some bargain bin Walgreens type store. They're all doing random mediocre things, which I get. And that does kind of fit into the whole idea that the Legends are extraordinary nobodies. But it also paints them into this picture to the audience as very pathetic.
Yeah.
And they're not able to do anything. Like, they can't do anything right. Like, that's not the characters we've seen before. They're very capable individuals. Their biggest problem was themselves, their insecurity, and working as a team. Not being idiots. Now they're just such buffoons. They're not even capable of holding down jobs and being normal people. Rip doesn't want to be around them. Again, that might be justified, and I will definitely be patient to see what happens. So, I mean, I hate to leave people on a negative note, but I also want to be honest about the shows when we cover them. And I don't think I've ever been negative about Legends, have I?
No, I don't think any of us have. It's always been, again, we found what they were doing was charming.
Yeah.
And it went from, like you said, charming to almost pathetic, the way they...
Yeah, you don't want your characters to be painted as pathetic.
Yeah.
As broken individuals, yes, we love tragedy. We love tragic stories, but pathetic, that's what they were looking like in this week's episode. I was like, I don't want to be around you guys. You guys are idiots. You're telling me that this genius can't get out of a cage? He can't pick a lock?
Yeah, you can't turn
Palmer can't pick a lock?
Oh, well, at least you went with the white guy.
Amaya can't use her totem to break out of the cage at any point, but she stays in there for like 2 hours?
Yeah, because she's afraid.
Yeah, and then they just pull things out of their ass. Oh, I can't turn to steel. Why? I must be dehydrated. Really? You just made that up.
So he goes and pees, and like slowly the steel goes away. It's like peeing with a boner.
Yeah. It's so stupid. It's creating drama so you can have drama. When you create, you shouldn't have to create it. It should be there with the scenarios that you've set up when you're writing. And they're literally making up scenarios so they can create drama that leads to the next contrived drama.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they fix it. I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to watch. And that concludes this week's discussion on DC on CW, the Legends of Tomorrow edition. Thank you, Bob, for joining me and sitting in.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. We will be back next week.
Tomorrow.
Same time. Oh, yeah, tomorrow. Live, starting at 6:30.
The return of Ryan Denton.
Mountain Standard Time, Ryan Denton will be back in studio for Flash and Arrow. Bye.
Not in the mood for chit-chat. Gotcha. Ready when you are.